PR Connections Radio presents
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the Parent Edition. If you're looking at my face, it's usually a Tuesday, Pacific Standard Time at 2 o'clock. And I have another wonderful parent for you today who's going to tell us about her love, her sacrifice, and her compromises, if she did, with her kids to give us two more responsible adults. If you kindly do me a favor, take a deep breath and let it out. I'll be right back.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
Dana, if you would kindly bring me my wonderful guest, Miss Jennifer Drum. How are you today, Miss Jennifer?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you? How are you, Cozy?
I'm doing well. Before we get started, I'd like to say to the audience, we know being a parent, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. There are plenty of books on the shelf, but there is not a book that tells you how to work with your child's DNA. And the other part is about this show is it has nothing to do with parent shaming. If you're not doing your job, we read about your child, or we do not, or we do not judge you because we don't know you. So as we get started, Jennifer, I like to give the audience a background, your parents, your beginnings, which is what you brought into your relationship as a parent. So can you tell us, where did your parents meet? How old were they before your mom had her first child?
So my mother was born in Germany and escaped Germany to go to Cuba.
Okay.
And when my grandmother and my mother and my aunt were in Cuba, and so my biological grandfather died in Germany. When they went to Cuba, my grandmother was basically bought by an American man to come to America to be a seamstress, a cook, a housewife. And my mother and my aunt moved from Cuba to United States in Brooklyn. And what turned out to be my step-grandfather kicked my mom out of the house when she was about 17. She met my dad at 18. They were living together and got married. So my dad was born and raised in Queens, and so my mom lived a very difficult life, and my dad was her one and only true love and her refuge.
Okay. And is it just you and your brother?
So I have a brother. He's 53. I'm 51. So it's just my brother and I. Yes.
Correct. And so we're going to call him your dad. Your dad and mom met, got married, and had your brother.
Correct.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking, I'll put all this together so you'll know why it's Cozy asking these questions. It's giving the audience an idea of how some parents meet, get married, and plan a family, as opposed to some people meet and oops, there is a family or there's a child, right? Did your parents? Go ahead.
So my mother and my father moved in together before they got married because my mother needed to leave the home situation that she was in. Mm-hmm. And so my grandparents, my father's parents, took my mom in. And so back then, it was just a natural thing for them to get married early, very young.
Good. And did they live with your dad's parents while they were getting themselves together?
For a little while, yes. And then my dad and my mom purchased a house in Brooklyn. So that's where I was born, in Brooklyn, in Canarsie.
Okay. So you got this Puerto Rican German background, and you got all the Brooklyn.
I got all the Brooklyn.
I'm
actually an Ashkenazi Jew.
Okay. Well,
so
whatever
my
you are,
lineage, yeah.
Right. You've got all the Brooklyn.
I got it.
Yeah, that was probably from going to school, the neighborhood. It just, right? You just consumed
all of it.
So let's get now. So we have an idea where your parents came from. They wanted you, brought you here, took care of you. Did they stay together during your childhood?
Yes, my parents were married 57 years. My dad just recently passed away 2 years ago. So my mom and my dad were each other's only true love, period.
Wow.
Can you imagine that nowadays? Oh boy.
No. So now we're going to get into you.
Okay.
Where did you meet your husband? How old were you? And then I'll ask more questions.
Okay, so my senior year of college, I had a friend that lived out in Vegas. I came out to visit him. I walked into his school. He worked at a middle school. And the principal came out and said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm here to see my friend John." He said, "You want a job?" I said, "Okay." At that time, Nevada was Las Vegas, the Clark County School District was recruiting heavily in Buffalo, where my husband's from. So his school had just opened that year, and schools opened 9, 10, 11 without a 12th grade. So his assistant principal, his name was Monty Bay, went to Buffalo and recruited my husband to come to Silverado High School to teach the calculus program.
Mm-hmm.
And how we met was we moved in together as roommates through people that we knew. So we moved in together August 1 of 1977. So that's how I met my husband. I moved in with him.
And you've been with him ever since?
I've been with him ever since. It's 24 years in March.
Wow.
25 in March. Yeah, 25 years March.
Wow. That's a great story. So
Yeah.
How long did you two live together before you got married? And then, of course, you started planning your family.
Well, we started dating 6 days after I moved in. And then we soon after bought a townhouse and then got married and then bought a bigger house and then planned to have kids.
All right.
So it was pretty quick. I was married at 27, 28, and I was pregnant at 30.
That's okay. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I like to ask the girly question. When you met your husband, which is quite unique, was it his brains, his beauty, or his his beauty, his brains, or his brawn that attracted you the most?
I'm going to say all three, but I always said that when I got married, I wanted to marry brilliant, I wanted to marry blue eyes, and I wanted to marry someone that had a moral compass that was solid.
Good.
And so he's brilliant. He's got the bluest eyes, and his moral compass has guided our family. So I think that all those three things made me completely fall in love with him.
Yeah, you just hit the jackpot.
I did.
You hit the jackpot. Okay,
yes,
so
I did.
Here's another girly question. You were married, you were planning your children, you had a wonderful husband who's in it with you,
Mm-hmm.
but you're still a female and you get that news. I don't know if you did the stick, because I'm old now. I had to find out about the stick. My term, we didn't have stick. So when you were told you were pregnant, when it was confirmed and you looked at your husband, we're going to have our first baby. Was it fear or fantasy that went through your head? Can you remember?
Excitement. We wanted to start our family early.
Okay.
And I mean, we were 30 and 31 and a half, 32-ish.
Got it.
So we knew that we wanted to start a family.
Okay.
And so getting pregnant was part of the plan.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
So you both had jobs, you're both educated, you're both ready to be parents. Did you have any family out here because everybody needs some kind of support, even as
Yeah,
a married woman. Who was
for
part
sure.
of your support system?
So as soon as I had my first son, my parents actually moved out here from
Wow.
Brooklyn and retired out here. And I had a wonderful, I call her my sister. Her name is Regina. She watched the boys in my house, which was perfect. And she's been with my boys from 9 months till now, and she's a mother of three. So I feel as though the support system I had were my parents and my sister Regina
Okay.
that helped me get through with making sure getting the kids and doing all the stuff.
Right. So you had your home and all of your background, and your husband had his home and his background. When you got together, what were some of that? I'm going to change. I usually ask this the other way. I'm going to ask this
Mhm.
this way. What were some of the things that you both had that you brought with you from your rearings, from your backgrounds? Or
The
usually I
importance of
ask,
family, and the importance of an open and honest relationship within our family.
fabulous. Okay. So as you, and this is just for you and your mom, pretty much, or your
Hmm.
dad, in your household, we hear, I call it chatter, I call it yakking. But what it is just words of wisdom that our parents give us that carries us through to where we are today. What are one or two of the things that you can think of that you shared with your sons that maybe one day you'll hear them say out of their mouths to their children?
Okay, so I didn't have a great childhood with and or relationship with my parents, but with my boys, um, they know that we as a family unit and them as brothers, that we are 100% unconditionally there for each other no matter what. And that has permeated through tragedies in our lives individually or tragedies in our lives as a family. That we know that whether it's a FaceTime call once a week or it's them talking or me flying one kid from Oregon to Reno or Reno to Oregon because they're in separate colleges, just to keep the connection alive. Um, my boy, my family knows my core family knows that no matter what, no matter where, no matter when, we're 100% there. Period, and it's unconditional.
Fabulous. And that is what they will take with them because that's going to be who they are. Fabulous.
Hmm.
Okay, Jen, let's get into the questions that you chose from my list of 36. The first question that you chose is tell me, please, three things you wish you knew before becoming a parent.
The first thing I would say is patience. I wish that I had more patience. Um, the second thing is I wish that I would have exposed my kids to a variety of different sports and activities. They both wanted to play baseball, and that was it. And I listened to them instead of listening to my instinct of giving them different exposures. Um, and I think yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay.
I don't have
All
three.
right.
Okay.
All right. And then the next question is, and I think you did, well, and you're going to tell me what they were. The question
Hmm.
is, did you and your husband discuss disciplines? Now, when I say disciplines, that's a big word.
Yeah,
So think of manners, think of education, think of chores. There's a lot that goes under the umbrella of disciplines. Please, thank you.
yes.
You
So my
guys
husband and I, yeah, we grew up in very different households.
that's was
And
my
where
question
his
earlier.
mom was home and she made dinner, and there was an expectation of a family dinner and who cleans the table and stuff like that. Where in my home, I I was a latchkey kid, so there wasn't an expectation. So coming together as a family, we found a compromise of like how many nights a week we were going to eat as a family.
Mhm.
When it comes to discipline, I ran the streets. Nobody cared what I did. I have two really good boys, so disciplining them, it was never like punishing them or what it was. I think talking to them. I think we've always tried to use conversation as a way of building a relationship with them. And when it comes to parenting, Eric and I are very different, but we always kind of found the middle ground. So when it came to like bedtimes or chores, I was the lenient one and he was the hard one.
Okay.
So we balance each other out.
Okay. And you just answered a question I asked earlier.
Okay.
And it's funny. It's okay. It's funny how that seems to fall in place with that particular question. The difference is you just explained that question very well. All right, let's go to your next question. In your opinion, Miss Jen, what makes a good parent?
So in my line of work, I've worked with several different families within the Clark County School District, parents and kids, and within my own kids. To me, it's I know if my boys needed me for anything, they come to me. There is never judgment. They know that I'm going to love them, and I may not like sometimes what they do, and they may, and they love me, and they may not like the things that I do sometimes, but it's our job as a family to build a foundation of communication to work through that. So my kids know they're loved unconditionally, without a doubt. And there are definitely kids that think they're scared of their parents or scared to tell them. There's no fear in my house. There's nothing they're going to say or do that's going to turn my head or make me not love them or not want them in my own home.
Right.
So
the answer to that question is, in your opinion, what makes a good parent? It's communication.
Yeah, it's honest and open communication both ways.
That's right.
Yeah, that means that you have to be honest with your kids too.
Right. Right. Okay. Your next question is, we sort of just answered this one too. All
so
right.
one of the things that I wrote when I wrote the bio is I've always felt that if other adults like my kids, then I know that I have done a good job. When my children would go to work with me and they'd run the halls of a high school, that everybody loved my kids. When my kids were on baseball teams and the other moms, the baseball moms, they would always say, "Oh, your kid's respectful. He's kind. He's caring. He's aware of others." And so I've always led with, I will deal with it in my house, but out there, the world is going to like you. Because if people don't like you, the world can be very cruel. So I've always parented with, take a step and take every moment in your life as how you step it, how you help people, how graceful you are, how honest you are, how giving and how caring can you be to someone else. And listen, because people enjoy being listened to, especially when I have 2 kids that came out of COVID and making friends and all that stuff. And it's interesting because I have a son that's in college right now and it's been difficult. And the one thing I've told him is ask people questions about themselves and listen, because that's how you get to know somebody, is by listening. So I'm trying to teach my kids some life lessons as well.
Okay. Well, you still have a ways to go. What are they, 20 and 21?
Yeah, so Jesse's 20 and Jacob's 19.
Oh yeah, you still got a ways. I'd say even 5 to 6, 7 more years. It's okay.
Yes, I do.
Of course you'll be parenting for the rest of your life because it's something you do well. I'm going to change one of your questions because the question was how much of your parents' disciplines, but you already explained that you didn't really have that. So I'm going to throw one at you that I know you can answer.
Okay.
Other than the one you picked, did you know your children's friends?
Yes.
And tell us why you thought that was important.
So one of my best friends was an elementary school teacher at the elementary school that my children went to. And so they had like a second mom at school. And one of my sons, my younger one, is a lot more social. So his friends, I knew the moms, I knew the kids, they would come over the house. My older one, he made his friends through sports, through baseball teams. And so I knew the moms because I'd be on the field with them. So I don't believe that my kids have hung out with anyone that I didn't like pre-high school, that I did not know who their parents were.
So now what happened when high school came around? Was there a
So when high
divide?
school, high school came around, and then shortly, one played baseball, one played volleyball. I'd go to their games, but high school parents of high school kids aren't as touchy-feely as little league parents or club ball parents. So I'd go to the games. I tried to make connections, but it was fine. It was
Okay.
okay.
Okay. And then your next question that you did choose is, and this one makes me laugh because I know you did. Tell us why? I'll just rephrase the question. Tell us why you attended parent-teacher meetings, Miss Teacher.
Well, as an educator,
Yes.
I have two brilliant kids that challenge teachers in their classrooms. And it was I felt as though being in teacher conferences allowed the educators in the room to understand where my boys were coming from. I think that teachers sometimes have a power trip and feel as though their word is the only word, and when that's not the case sometimes. So I've always gone to parent teacher conferences to support teachers and support my kids. I have always been very involved in their school. They both graduated with honors and all that other stuff. But as an educator myself, I have seen, I've seen some interesting things happen within, conferences. So I've always made sure that I was always there. But I
Did you
never,
ever-
so, but
No, you go ahead.
I never got called into a conference because my kids were misbehaved or they were doing something. If anybody had a conference, I called the conference myself.
Right. Did you ever have a time, an instance where, how do I put, you had to go toe to toe with the teacher, not because you're an educator, because you're a parent and an educator, where you did?
So my son was in 8th grade and he corrected the teacher when she was discussing velocity of a ball coming down a ramp. And he corrected her and she didn't appreciate that and she dismissed him in front of the classroom. And later on in the period, she recognized that my son was correct and she was not. And she brushed it off. And my kid was really upset about it. He's like, Mom, she said the velocity was blah, blah, blah. And I knew that the speed, and I said, okay. So I had a parent conference and it was interesting because the science teacher and the English teacher were best friends. And they kind of started ganging up on my kid. And I was like, whoa. And I broke things down and not to go into it, but it's okay that sometimes the kid is more knowledgeable about a content than the person standing in front of the room is. And we have to, they were humbled pretty quick. So
Good.
yeah.
Good. And the reason I wanted you, it's because for parents who don't go to bat for their kid,
Go to bat for your kids.
When they
Go
know
to bat for your kids.
when they know the kid is right, it establishes
because they're scared in
more,
schools.
it
Do
establishes
not be scared in schools.
No, but it also establishes more respect for you as the parent. They can treat another child that way, but they won't treat your child.
Correct.
Right? Good. All right, we are doing wonderful here, Missy. And you are already at your fun question. And
All right.
And what I chose for you is, all right, Jen, I'm going to make this, let's see how easy this is for you. If you could eat 3 foods for the rest of your life, what would they be, Miss Jennifer?
If I could eat 3 foods for the rest of my life, what would it be? I would eat cucumbers. I like the pizza has to come from New York pizza. Cucumbers, pizza, and chocolate licorice.
I didn't even know there was such a thing as chocolate.
Yeah, licorice. Yep, that's what I would eat.
Chocolate licorice, pizza, and
yes, ma'am.
That sounds
That's
like pregnant. That sounds like pregnant food.
Don't
Jennifer.
sit cozy. Ain't no pregnant going on over here.
No.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
So wait. I have 5 minutes. And I'm going to ask you the one that just because of how we know one another.
Okay.
Would you rather be the best player on a horrible team or the worst player on a great team?
The worst player on a great team. That's an easy one. I'd rather be the worst player learning from the better players to get better. And if I was the best player on the worst team, my job would be to teach the team. So either capacity, either I'm learning or I'm sharing.
Okay. You answered. You answered it, and I would have been highly disappointed had you not had that answer. By the way.
That would be my answer.
So we're going to do a regroup. Came from parents who planned you, made you the wonderful adult that you are today. Because of them and your background, you were wise enough to recognize the gift that was put in front of you in the name of Eric. He came with great attributes and everything that you were looking for. And I want women
and blue eyes. Cozy, he's got blue eyes. Both my boys have blue eyes.
I know your husband, I know your kids. I didn't stare at their eyes, but okay. Women have a list. The blue eyes is second nature to the morals, the character, the love, and the respect that he had for you. Would you agree? Uh-oh. Would you rather him been a jerk with blue eyes? Oh, she went. Then I lost her. At the end, we lost her. All right, folks. I think Jennifer's, not think. This is why we don't use mobile, people. Took her off. All right. So I'm going to wrap up the show. Jennifer came from great parents, met a wonderful man, gave us the society 2 wonderful boys. I've met them. They are absolutely wonderful and mannered and intelligent. She did know what she was looking for. She did not settle for less. She took her parenting responsibilities wonderful, had a support system that also helped her. It was great that her parents moved to Vegas to help her so she could do her job and make sure her kids were okay. That is some of the formula for having and producing responsible adults at the end of the day. Knowing what you need, what you want, going for it, not settling for less. And even if it's the blue eyes, her husband is absolutely wonderful. He's a pleasure to be around. He just feels good. So I get it. And I see why they're together because she's also a wonderful person. Jennifer and I are pickleball people, which is what I was going to talk about before she went static on me. And so that's how we met. We're both from New York. And she walked up to my court and I turned around and said, "You want to play with us?" So that's how we first became acquainted. Before we part, oh no, I spilled water on my books. my book's wet. Please go to Amazon and purchase, whatever. Cozyisms, the art of paying attention. Witticism, whimsical, witty, wonderful art. That would support me, and I would thank you highly. But buy them as gifts. They're great gifts as well. Unless God knows something I don't, I will be back here next Tuesday with another wonderful parent. And before I say goodbye to all of you for the day, I'd like to remind you folks that sometimes when we know better, we do better.